Alright, today we're talking about Newton's first law, also called the law of inertia. Basically it states any object at rest will stay at rest until acted on by an outside force. What that means is if an object is sitting still, it's not going to move until some sort of force causes it to move. On the flip side, if something is moving, it's going to keep moving until stopped by an outside force. Alright, now I know we've used this example before with the action-reaction, but what we're going to look at here is the second part of Newton's first law. Because most of y'all understand if you put an object down, it won't move until a force causes it to move. However, the whole objects in motion stay in motion is a little bit more difficult because almost everything on Earth eventually stops moving. And there's two reasons for that. First off, every object has gravity pulling down. So every object on Earth does have the force of gravity pulling on it. Now the second thing that works on most objects is friction. So anytime something is moving, there's basically friction causing it to stop. So you have a little bit of friction pushing back. So basically the reason why any object on Earth eventually stops moving is you have friction pushing against it and you have gravity pulling it down. So these are going to be what the outside forces that stop something from moving. And here's a good way to tell. If you pushed off on that boat and it was sitting on dirt, it wouldn't move very far because the dirt would have a higher amount of friction. However, if you hop off the boat on the water provides very little friction and the boat will move backwards. Alright, let's go ahead and look at a couple examples here and introduce a concept called inertia. Alright, so what inertia is basically a resistance to a change in motion. In real common terms, that means if it is moving, it doesn't want to stop moving. If it's staying still, it wants to remain staying still. So a lot of students ask, well, what causes inertia? And it's very simple. Mass. That kind of makes sense. A heavier object takes a lot more force to stop or to make it move than a light object. So let's go ahead and pause for a second. So once again, a real simple way to put that is if you have more mass, you have more inertia. Harder to make it move, harder to stop it once it starts moving. The less mass you have less inertia. And let's go ahead and give you an example of this. So if y'all look at this example, obviously the bowling ball would have more mass than our soccer ball. So the soccer ball would be easier to start moving, but at the same token, it would be easier to basically also stop it. So like if you kick them both with, let's say, 1 Newton of force, right here. As y'all can see, the bowling ball takes a little bit longer to get moving than our soccer ball. However, if they were going the same speed, the bowling ball would take a lot more force to stop it. And that's basically going to be inertia. It's the object's tendency to want to keep moving. So we're going to have a couple more examples and then wrap up the video. Alright, so if y'all look here in this example, basically you have a person sitting in a car. Their first example here, they are wearing a seatbelt. Now, in the second example, you can see there is no seatbelt. So whenever they get in a wreck, the first person is going to basically stop due to the seatbelt. That's going to provide the force to keep them from moving. However, with the second person, whenever they get in the wreck, there is no seatbelt. So their body's going to want to keep moving at, let's say, 60 miles per hour until eventually a force is going to provide, basically like the windshield or something, is going to stop their movement forward. Alright, let's go ahead and look at another example of this. Alright, so without a seatbelt, this guy is basically going to, the only force, he's going to want to stay in motion. So if he was going 60 miles per hour without another force to stop him, like a seatbelt, windshield, this guy's just going to keep on moving until eventually gravity pulls him back down to the earth and the friction of the road stops him. So basically that's going to be the law of inertia, is this object wants to keep moving or stay in motion until another force stops it. Hopefully this was helpful, and y'all have a great day.